Good Tuesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversations Daily News. Glad you all could be with us. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Tuesday. We have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. And in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you're part of my conversation with award-winning author and my friend, Robert Blake Whitehill, discussing his decade of storytelling as well as his new book, Blast. Enjoy our broadcast. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with their Tuesday headlines. In national news, January 6 panel urges Trump prosecution with criminal referral. The House January 6 committee urged the Justice Department on Monday to bring criminal charges against former President Donald Trump, delivering what is called a roadmap to justice in response to the violent 2021 Capitol insurrection. After one of the most exhaustive and aggressive congressional probes in memory, the panel's 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans are recommending criminal charges against Trump and associates who helped him launch a wide-ranging pressure campaign to try to overturn his 2020 election loss. The panel also released a lengthy summary of its final report with findings that Trump engaged in a multi-part conspiracy to stop the will of the people. At a final meeting Monday, the committee alleged violations of 4 criminal statutes by Trump in both the run-up to the riot and during the insurrection itself, as it recommended the former president for prosecution to the Justice Department. Among the charges they recommend for prosecution is aiding an insurrection, an effort to hold him directly accountable for his supporters who stormed the Capitol that day. The committee also voted to refer conservative lawyer John Eastman, who devised dubious legal maneuvers aimed at keeping Trump in power, for prosecution on 2 of the same statutes as Trump: conspiracy to defraud the United States and obstructing an official proceeding. While a criminal referral is mostly symbolic, with the Justice Department ultimately deciding whether to prosecute Trump or others, it is a decisive end to a probe that had an already singular focus from the start. Chairman Benny Thompson of Mississippi says the criminal justice system can provide accountability after Trump broke the faith that people have when they cast ballots in a democracy. We have every confidence that the work of this committee will help provide a roadmap to justice, Thompson said. In more national news, Elon Musk's Twitter poll ends with users seeking his departure. Millions of Twitter users asked Elon Musk to step down as the head of Twitter in a poll the billionaire created and promised to abide by. But by Monday afternoon, there was no word on whether Musk would step aside or who the new leader might be. Twitter has grown more chaotic and confusing under Musk's leadership, says the Associated Press, with rapidly vacillating policies that are issued, then withdrawn or changed. Among those voting with the Go camp, almost certainly, were Tesla investors who have grown tired of the 24/7 Twitter chaos that they say has distracted the eccentric CEO from the electric car company, his main source of wealth. Musk also used his Tesla stock to partially fund the acquisition of Twitter. Shares of Tesla are down 35% since Musk took over Twitter on October 27, costing investors billions. Tesla's market value was over $1.1 trillion on April 1st, the last trading day before Musk disclosed he was buying up Twitter shares. The company has since lost 58% of its value at a time when rival automakers are cutting in on Tesla's dominant share of electric vehicle sales. In more national news, states appeal to Supreme Court to keep immigration limits. Conservative states pushing to keep limits on asylum seekers put in place during the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic are appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court in a last-ditch effort before the limits are set to expire. But with the immigration restrictions going away on Wednesday, it's unclear if the Supreme Court will intervene. The 19 states Monday asked the court for an emergency stay that would keep Title 42 in place. This court's review is warranted given the enormous national importance of this case. It is not reasonably contestable that the failure to grant a stay will cause an unprecedented calamity at the southern border, the states wrote in their request. The immigration restrictions, often referred to as Title 42, were put in place under then-President Donald Trump in March 2020 and have prevented hundreds of thousands of migrants from seeking asylum in the U.S. in recent years. But as they're set to expire, thousands more migrants are packed in shelters on Mexico's border with the U.S. In more national news, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard settled defamation appeals. Actors Johnny Depp and Amber Heard have settled their defamation lawsuits following a high-profile trial earlier this year in which the former couple accused each other of physical and verbal abuse. And finally, in business news, Wall Street loses more ground, extending a losing streak. Stocks closed lower on Wall Street as investors brace for higher interest rates from central banks to fight inflation. The S&P 500 lost 0.9% on Monday. The tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite lost 1.5%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.5%. Major indexes are coming off 2 weeks of losses. The Nasdaq fell 159 points, or 1.5%, to 10,546. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Tuesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. Sometimes you might feel as though you have lost your way, but there is still time to change course. Forget about the past and all the wrong turns behind you. Focus on where you are now. You are born with the GPS from your Creator inside of you. Listen to it, and it will lead you to where you were always meant to be. Have an amazing Tuesday. We are part of my conversation coming up with author Robert Blake Whitehill in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with Entertainment Spotlight. Award-winning author and my friend Robert Blake Whitehill joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about his new book, Blast, but also his writing career that now spans a decade. Here's a bit of our conversation. Robert, my friend, thank you so much again for the time. Really appreciate it.
It is a pleasure to chat with you, as always, Cyrus. It's just terrific. Great to talk to you again.
You are celebrating a big milestone right now, Robert, when it comes to Ben Blackshaw in this series, 10 years. What has this experience been like for you to kind of reflect on the decade of when you first introduced Ben Blackshaw to the world?
It has been a marvelous 10 years, and I'll say to you that it was a number of years working in solitude before the first book, Dead Rise, even came out in 2012. So when that book came out and I had a chance to meet my audience for the first time, all the other books I realized, wow, there's an audience out there. I'm not toiling alone in solitude for an unknown sort of reward. There are people out there who are now expecting the next book, who want the next book, who are excited by the next book. And you're a huge part of bringing in the Blackshaw audience to this series. I'm very grateful to you, Cyrus.
If you had to picture the audience for this book, what did you picture the audience for Ben Blackshaw and Dead Rise was?
Well, originally it was folks who might know the Chesapeake Bay area and love sailing there or boating there. People who love Smith Island, where the stories are set, which is the only inland inhabited islands in the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland. And also, I happen to know statistically that women are very avid readers of all kinds of fiction, whether it's literary fiction or popular fiction like I write. And so I imagined that they were out there, but the privilege of meeting them after that first book came out, that was very special to me. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News. Prepare to get on tomorrow's more news, message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course, your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Now let's go make it a great one.